Schwarzenberg Palace was once the home of a wealthy official. And as it sometimes happens, he was rich in possessions, but poor in charity and kindness. And he had only one daughter, called Alžběta. But she was the opposite of her father. She abounded in goodness and beauty. And she fell in love with one young man who didn't have any money, and he lived with his mother in an attic room in Ostruhová Street. This young couple, they had a secret place where they were meeting, right here. Because when the evening fell, the young girl and the young boy, they met here under the statue of Virgin Mary. And then they walked to the hill called Petří, or they were just wandering hand in hand through the alleyways of the lesser town. They were so alike in character that it might have seemed that they were destined for each other. But the fate was against them. They were divided by the huge gulf of property and stubbornness of Alžběta's father. When Alžběta told her father about her suitor, he flew into a fury and said, "You want to choose a poverty. You expect me to give my daughter to some ragged, barefoot beggar so he can waste my money. I never accept a pauper into my family." And from the time on, the father started to invite prospective grooms to the house, young and old, as long as they had chests full of money, hoping that Alžběta would pick one. But she had eyes only for her beloved, the young boy. Her father tried to persuade her with promises and threats. He even forbade her to leave the palace, but nothing convinced her, because Alžběta and the young boy, they had a secret signal. As soon as the dusk fell, at first a light would shine in the window of Alžběta's chamber, and then another light would immediately shine in the window of the young man's attic room in response. Then Alžběta secretly creeped out of the palace and ran to the statue of the Virgin Mary, and the young lovers met here. But unfortunately, her father found out, and he decided to try a different strategy. He spoke with some other officials, and he arranged for his daughter's lover to be conscripted into the army. And so the lovers met under the statue for the last time. Both had tears in their eyes, and they squeezed each other's hands. And they were so desperate because of the long separation that was ahead of them. Maybe they even knew that it could last forever. "I will wait for you every day," Alžběta promised. "Every evening I will look out of my window and wait until you give me a signal. And as soon as the light flashes in your room, I will come to our meeting place. And I will do this as long as I live." Early the next day, the young man went off with the soldiers to some foreign land, and Alžběta never heard any news of him. From time to time, she took some money to his mother, but she also heard nothing from her son. And years went by, and the boy's mother died, but also Alžběta's father died, and Alžběta had to move out of the palace. She found a new house, but from there, she no longer had a view of the attic window. So every evening, she went to the statue of the Virgin Mary, and she looked for the light from here. She stood here in summer and in winter, in the rain and snow, in the heat and in the wind. Her hair slowly turned silver, and her face started to have wrinkles. But she didn't notice. She wore the same clothes that she had worn to meet her lover, so he could recognize her. And she looked with the same intensity at the attic window and waited, waited, and waited. One frosty winter morning, the guards found an old woman frozen to death and covered with snow under the statue of Virgin Mary. Her face was like marble, and on her cheeks there were frozen tears like precious stones.